Welcome back, episode 28. This might be one of my favourite topics and podcasts yet. So today we're going to speak all about the psychology of overeating. Now, I have helped people with food probably for about 6 years, and I'm really interested in helping people get to the root and genuinely changing their long-term behaviour. And I'm going to give you 2 tips that are really going to help you shift your overeating. So the first thing we're going to discuss is the scarcity mindset around food. Now, psychologically, we are primed to keep ourselves alive and to keep ourselves safe. So when food is viewed as scarce or when you are restricting it, the lower part of our brain goes crazy. It's chaotic, it's worried, it's panicking, and the higher thinking part of our brain can't come online and make logical decisions. Now, I see this play out time and time again, and maybe you've experienced it too, where you restrict, and then you binge. You restrict, and then you binge. And you know logically that this isn't working for you, but it feels really, really challenging to break. And here's why, and here's how I help my clients break that. So when we look at food, 9 times out of 10, we look at food as a yes, I can have this, or no, I can't have this decision. We look at it as a black and white yes or no decision. Now, some people's brains, as soon as a thing is a no, they feel more prime to experience threat. They don't feel safe with that no. They're in a mental battle with themselves about whether they're going to eat this thing or not. And that doesn't feel good to them. And 9 times out of 10, we end up losing that battle. Now, the shift that I encourage my clients to make, and the shift that I'm going to encourage you to make too, is instead of looking at food choices as a yes or no, look at them as a now or later. Because straight away, we take out that restriction and we take out that scarcity. So let me give you an example. I absolutely love donuts. I've shared this many times. I love a good donut. Now, if I was presented with a donut and I was to say to myself, yes, you can have this, or no, you can't have this. Let's say I have a fat loss goal and I'm thinking, no, this isn't in line with my goals. I shouldn't have this. Straight away, internally, especially if I have spent years yo-yo dieting and having a real challenging relationship with food, my nervous system doesn't feel safe with that no, and I feel some kind of threat. And even if I manage to say no, I'm white knuckling it. I'm using willpower. And that is only ever going to last for a very finite amount of time. Now, if I was presented with a donut and I say, you know what, this is not a yes or no. This is a, do I want it now or do I want it later at some other time? That feels so much safer psychologically to us. It feels so much safer nervous system wise. I'm not telling myself no. I'm just making a choice as to whether I'm going to have it now or whether I'm going to have it later. I'm not operating from a place of scarcity. I'm not operating from a place of lack. I'm not operating from a place of restriction. I'm giving myself and my brain the option of saying, you can either have this now or you can have it later. Somatically, in my body, that is going to feel so much better than a black or white yes or no. And I have seen this work for hundreds of clients, especially if you have really struggled with years and years and years of yo-yo dieting and you've done really harsh restrictive diets where you've not allowed yourself things, to suddenly be presenting your brain with a now or not now choice instead of a yes or no choice instantly helps you feel calmer. And when you feel calmer, your higher part of your brain, your higher thinking brain, can come online and you can make logical, grounded, calm decisions. But the first step is to shift your automatic thinking from yes or no to now or later. So that's the first tip. And I really want you to try and implement that and use that throughout the week, throughout the weekend, and see how it shifts how you actually feel and how it helps you calm down. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is how we get caught in our patterns. And so often people will say to me, I know better, I really know better, I should be doing better, but it's almost like I get hijacked. Like I'm in this pattern and I can see myself and I'm watching myself do the thing that I told myself, I promised myself I wasn't going to do. But when I'm in that pattern, it's so hard for me to break. And when I don't break it, I then break any trust that I've got with myself of ever being able to break it. I start to feel helpless. I start to feel that the way that I'm acting is inevitable. And if you've ever been in a situation with food where you haven't even overeaten yet, but you can already feel, oh gosh, I know how this is going to go. I know how this ends. It's because we have neural pathways in our brain. And the more we make similar decisions that follow patterns, the more well-worn that neural pathway gets. I remember someone gave me an analogy once of, let's say you're walking through a field and one path of the field is well-worn, it's well-trodden, we know it, and to a certain degree it feels safe because it's familiar. But the other path is not well-worn, it's brand new. And that's kind of like the decision-making process in our brain, right? And we can get hooked into a pattern from the moment that an inkling of the pattern starts. And what's happening here is we're now on the track of that neural pathway. And what we usually do is we fight with ourselves to get off it. So we're battling with ourselves. Once again, we've got that mental gymnastics, we've got that internal angst, but that is also part of the pattern. That whole narrative, that whole fight is part of the pattern and it's feeding into it. And then when you inevitably eat the thing or do the thing that you've told yourself you don't want to do, you feel helpless and like, gosh, I'm never ever going to be able to break this. Now, I want to offer you a tip here, right? Because one of the things that we can do, and we want to start working on the side of our brain, we want to start understanding why I'm making the choices that I'm making, why I'm repeating the patterns that I'm repeating, even though I'm saying this isn't what I want for myself. And one thing that helps break that pattern is instead of getting into the pattern and the fight and the internal angst, we give our brain a direction. And one way that we can do that is we can ask our brain a question. And a really good question to ask is, what happens if I don't eat this thing? Because once again, when we're presented with choices around food, we look at it very, very black and white. We look at it as a yes or no. Now, when we start asking our brain a question, we're able to pull ourselves a little bit out of that pattern and we're able to imagine a different scenario. This is so powerful because until now, you either think you eat the thing or you don't eat the thing. And if you eat the thing, that then causes you to feel certain emotions. And if you don't eat the thing, you feel like you're in a battle with yourself and it's only going to be so long until you eat the thing. But if I explain, when we have a thought, that thought then impacts how we feel in our body. And that feeling then drives the action that we take. And those actions that we take then produce the results that we're experiencing. So we have to start with the thought and we have to start breaking the patterns and changing the thought processes around our patterns. So let's go back to the donut that I mentioned. If I have a donut, and I really, really love donuts, I think I might have said that, and I say to myself, okay, right now, the feelings that are coming up, the thoughts that are there in my mind are I can either have the donut or I can't have the donut. When I think that I'm going to have the donut, I know that I'm going to feel bad because it's not aligned with my goals and I'm in a place where it doesn't feel good to me if I eat the donut. If I say that I'm not going to eat the donut, I'm going to really struggle. The donut's here, it's in front of me, or I can see it, or I'm going to think about it. I feel like it's calling me. My mind is preoccupied by not eating the donut. So either way, I do not have mental peace and I feel really preoccupied by this donut and my brain is consumed with thoughts of that donut, meaning I don't feel great. Now, what if I say to my brain, what happens if you don't eat this donut? And I offered my brain that question. Straight away, I'll start to think, okay, well, if I don't eat the donut, maybe for the first 10 minutes, I'm going to sit and think about it. Maybe I will feel a little bit of disappointment that I didn't let myself eat the donut. Already, what I'm starting to do is imagine there's another outcome. I've shifted my perspective from only being able to see yes or no as the outcomes around the donut to, okay, well, let me shift my perspective as to what would happen if I didn't eat the donut. Let me let my imagination go there. Let my brain paint that picture for me of another outcome being available to me, rather than pondering and getting mentally exhausted with the only two options which I'm currently presenting myself with. And this is all about starting to work with our brain and starting to understand on a psychological level, the patterns that we get pulled into and why we stay locked into them. We're training our brain to understand there's more options here than what I might currently be able to see. And when it comes down to your relationship with food, those two things that I've mentioned are so powerful in starting to shift your perspective and widen the lens that you're looking at food with, so that you can improve your relationship with food. Because part of improving our relationship with food is improving our thoughts around food, is improving how we feel around food, which improves the choices that we make around food, which improves the results that we get around food. But we have to work on each level. We want to work with the body. We want to work with our nervous system. We want to start creating a place of safety. But we also want to work with our brain. We want to work with ourselves psychologically. We don't want to put ourselves in a place of scarcity or lack. We want to create that psychological safety, and we want to start being able to see and bring in new perspectives that perhaps we haven't experienced up until now. So those are the two things that I really want you to try. I want you to try this week and see, can I not look at food as a yes or no? Can I look at it as a now or later? And can I ask myself a question when I feel like I'm being pulled into my pattern of, hold on, what happens if I don't do this? And let me start to imagine a different outcome, a different reality, and a different experience. I hope that's helpful. I'd love some feedback if you give it a try as to how it's helped you, whether it worked, how you found it. All feedback to me is always welcome. Have a fantastic week.